Hi, I'm Burton Clifford, and for my project number 2, I chose to focus on how action video games affect the development of the mind. Now, it was actually a very long process for me to decide what I wanted the main topic of my essay to be. I first started off with the idea of focusing on whether video games in general affected the user's development of the mind in positive and negative ways. But after being told by my professor and realizing that my topic was way too broad for a 4 to 6 page paper, I started to think of the different games and what effects they might have on the growth of the mind. Now there was so many different genres that I could have chose from, but I think the one that really spoke to me and grasped me was the action video game genre. The things that made it stand out from all the others came down to really 3 points. And the first point was how popular the games are in this genre, such as Call of Duty or Modern Warfare. The next point was the violence in these games. And then the last point was the amount of controversy with the parents playing these video games. So what I meant by the last point was how highly disputed this topic is between parents and bloggers, etc., on whether or not kids or young teenagers should be able to play these games, etc., etc. So now that I kind of focused my topic, made it more narrow, I could actually do some research. So after I did my research and kind of wrote my rough draft, which was very, very rough, I then decided how I had to organize my information. So as you can see, I started off with an introduction paragraph, which just talked about the background of action video games and how highly disputed this topic is. It's debated, it has been for definitely the last decade. It's been talked about a lot. And so it talks about the positives and negatives, and then just kind of lets the reader know what I'll be talking about in this essay. And so then from there, I chose to focus on the positives and the benefits of these games. So in the first, second, and third paragraph, as you can see here, I talked about all the benefits that these action video games have on the development of the mind and how it relates to real-world situations. So after I gave my information here inside of my sources, I then chose to switch and go to the negatives of these games. Now, the reason I did this was because I didn't want the reader to get confused while reading it. So if I had a positive and then just flip to a negative right away, the reader might get confused on what the point I was trying to make. So I decided to put the positives at the beginning of the essay and then finish out with the negatives. Now after that, after my body of the paragraph, I went into my conclusion, which, as you can see here, I decided what my view of the topic would be. So that's how I decided to conclude my essay, by saying first that the benefits outweigh the negatives. Then I talked about how our generation is growing and growing and growing in the use of technology, and it's not going to go away. So I think that my view is that we kind of have to accept that so much of our world is going to be based off of technology. And I think the way that my essay was organized was effective. When I was rereading it, and I actually had some of my family members read it, they said that they liked how I broke up and separated the positive and negative so you could see both sides. And then finally talk about the positives and negatives and our conclusion, and then wrap it up and see what I actually thought about the topic. So that was my project number 2. Again, I did it based off of action video games and the effects that they had on the development of the mind in positive and negative ways. And once again, I'm Burton Clifford.